Welcome everybody to Mary Giuliani Live. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Tonight we have a different format. It is all about Conscious Conversation Salons, and you may notice my new background. I'm at my condo in Cabo. No, just kidding. Actually, I have a green screen in my studio, so I thought I'd switch it up for tonight and add a kind of a fun beautiful ocean background. So that's the beauty of live stream. You can like make pretend and have all kinds of fun things going on. And so anyway, for those of you that are new, the whole purpose of this show is to help you transform your life by connecting with other people that are in similar situations or that have gone through quite a bit in their lives and have learned how to really create what they want and be true to themselves and go after their dreams, and that are also willing to share the struggles and also the victories. So for those of you that are watching tonight on Facebook Live, if you would like to join in this Conscious Conversation Salon, make sure you go up to marygiuliani.net, watch live, because there's a little chat box right below the live stream, and that's where I'm going to be fielding questions for tonight's conversation. And for the people that, and if you're not, if you just want to watch, you can just hang out on Facebook. But before you do leave Facebook, if you could do me a huge favor, it really helps to share the Facebook video, this live stream as it's live, with your people, and that way it really helps get the word out about this show and helps other people transform as well. Because the whole reason I started this show, well, one of the biggest reasons is because I love being in the conversation of transformation. So what a better way than to do it with people all over the world, and also so that other people can, get connected to it. And the whole conversation salon is, I wanted to do this particular format tonight because I wanted, I love interviewing people that are going for it in their lives and everything, and yet I also I love just having my girlfriends over and having a fun conversation around the living room, so that's kind of why I picked this background, because there's kind of a cool couch and everything. But since you guys can't be here in person, at least we kind of have a little living room kind of feel. Anyway, also, if you're new to the show, make sure that you sign up for my email list, because you'll find out what's going on as far as my guests that are coming up on the show for the following week. I also provide free links to the previous recorded show in audio only or video and audio. And I also do some blog posts, inspirational blog posts, and different things like that. So make sure you join my email list. You can kind of be in the loop about what's going on with me in my world, which is all about transformation. So let's see, what else did I want to say? Okay, so how the show's going to work tonight is, as I said, if you go to marygiuliani.net, watch live, and just put in any comments or questions, just pretend like you're with me in my living room. And I know it's a little bit more difficult because it's not like an audio thing, but at least we have the chat. And you're welcome to chat with the people that are in the chat room too. Right now it looks like we've got Carrie Palmer. Hi, Carrie. It's good to see you. And Gwen. And I know I've got some other friends coming too. And invite your friends as well. What else is going on? If you have any ideas as far as topics for the show, or even show formats or guests that you would like me to interview, or any kind of ideas, I'm really open to collaboration, and I'm just wanting to provide something that you guys want to see and participate in. and that was the reason I was going to come back to. The reason I'm doing this conversation salon is because I want it to be really interactive for everybody that watches, not just watching me interview somebody. And even though when I do the interviews, you can ask questions and that sort of thing, but this is a fully interactive show. So it's really like having like I said, like a conversation salon, but a virtual one. Let's see. Oh, and if you do have any ideas for shows or topics or formats, send those to my email at mary@marygiuliani.net. And let's see, let's get to the meat of the show tonight. The reason I chose this topic, basically, the topic are the 3 goals that can actually make you happy. And the reason why I picked this is because our culture, if you really think about it, our culture doesn't really, in our families, in our churches, and the different things that we're socialized with, they don't really teach us how to go after goals that can make us happy. There's like a standard approach that people are typically trained to follow, which is you grow up in a very, conventional way. You're told that you need to go to college, and then you need to get a job that's, realistic in terms of money, and you're supposed to get the house and the car and the kids and all of those things, and then you wonder when you're 40 or 50 or even earlier than that why you're not happy and why you're burned out and why you're in this rat race. And so I came across this really good book. One of my guests, Jill Lublin, was on the show about a month ago, and she came, I was reading her book, which is called The Profit of Kindness, and one of the books that she referenced in her book is called How to Be Alive by Colin Beavan. This is one of his workbooks, but just this is kind of a picture of the actual cover of the book, How to Be Alive. And it's the subheading or subtitle is A Guide to the Kind of Happiness That Helps the World. And I just was drawn to this book, and so I bought it and I read it, and it was really compelling, just the way he went into the research on the types of goals that have proven to help people really be happy. And what he studied was he references this study. Well, first of all, there's two things that we all need to be happy, and the first 2 things are security and meaning. So we all need security. Obviously, we need to have a roof over our head. We need to feel like we're safe wherever we live and the people that we're with. And security is really receiving, and meaning is giving. And so, if you boil it down to the 2 things that we all need security and meaning. But when you, and what he talks about is, and sorry if I'm looking away because I can't memorize everything here, but security is what you need to be alive, safe, healthy, and comfortable, and it comes from what you get from the world through your relationships. And it's the relationships to the people and what they provide, like money, jobs, love, affection, that sort of thing. And meaning, and this is what he talks about meaning, is the buzz you get from being alive, and includes self-expression, the ability to change things, adventure, and service. And these are all from which you give to the world through being true to your values and expressing them in service to your relationships. So both these core pieces that we all need are related to our relationships. So it's all about relationships. And I don't know if that's good news or bad news for everybody, but at least we know what it's all related to so that we can work on it. And so let me just start with the first main goal that we need to have to be happy. He talks about autonomy. Now, autonomy is really about feeling like we're self-governed, like what we do, and I'm sorry if I'm looking away again, but I want to make sure I kind of cover some of the stuff. We're hardwired to have the need to feel that we're doing something that's interesting to us and that's personally worthwhile and vitalizing. And so what's interesting, there's this really cool study that he goes over in this book, and where they actually, Deci is the guy's name, and he's a self-determination theorist, which is all about what motivates people's behavior. And he did this really interesting study, and this was over the course of like 40 or 50 years, and he started with monkeys, where he actually gave these monkeys this mechanical puzzle to put together. And he just let them play with it, and they naturally just wanted to play with it and figure out how to, fit things together and make things work in this puzzle. And it was just sort of an inherent thing that they enjoyed doing. And then they introduced a reward, like a raisin, if they put the puzzle together correctly. They would give the monkeys a raisin. And what was really interesting about it was that the monkeys actually performed. Did not have as much interest and did not do as well. And it was just sort of like, oh, that's so interesting. What is it about introducing a reward that actually demotivates people? And what they found out, and he, like I said, he did this research for many years, and this is actually research he did on humans too. The same thing with humans. They gave humans this puzzle to work out, and when they were just given the puzzle to figure out, humans naturally just wanted to figure it out for the fun of it. And when humans were given rewards like money or different rewards for how many puzzles they figured out, their motivation went down and their productivity went down. And what they found out is that when you introduce a reward, it actually takes away the feeling of autonomy, like the feeling like this is something I just want to do just for the heck of doing it, just because it's fun. And when you feel like you have to do something just because you're going to get a reward, it removes that dynamic. And it's sort of like if you think about like when you were a kid, let's say you were told that you had to play piano or play a certain instrument, and it was something you had to do, and you had to recite whatever you'd learned, and so it's like, the reward was approval, and it takes away the actual feeling of just doing it for the fun of it. And I remember personally, actually myself, when I was really getting into music when I was in my 20s, and when I started performing for audiences, there was an expectation of me like having a certain level of skill or whatever, or just showing up and playing all these songs. It's like the joy of the experience sort of left, because it wasn't just like I was playing just for the fun of it. So anyway, interesting. Autonomy is really, really key. And so we need to feel like we're self-governed, and so let's see if we have any questions or comments on autonomy. Let's see. Gwen, and excuse me again, I'm just looking at the chat here. So Gwen is actually on the road right now, but she put her questions in earlier. I'm going to get back to Gwen's because they're not completely, completely out of the context of this question. So anyway, I'm going to get back to Gwen on that. You know what I think I'm going to do? And again, this is a new show, so bear with me. I'm just kind of playing it by ear here. I think I want to go to the second goal. Let's see. The second goal that has been proven to create happiness and true fulfillment is a feeling of being confident and a sense of self-mastery. And so we need to feel like we have the ability to affect an outcome. And so a lot of times when people don't go after their goals or their dreams, it's because they're not feeling like they have the skill or the ability to create what they want or need. And I know before I got into being in business and that sort of thing, the whole idea of stepping into a whole unknown arena like being an entrepreneur was like pretty terrifying. I mean, you had to learn just all the different aspects of running a business and dealing with clients and actually charging money for your services or products. And so self-mastery and competence is really key in this area. So really going after skills that are going to help you feel like you have agency in your life. So self-confidence, competence actually increases your self-confidence. And I want to contrast these goals compared to some other goals which don't typically create a happy life, which are the three goals that we're going after or talking about tonight is autonomy, self-mastery, and the third goal is relatedness, which is feeling connected to yourself and feeling connected to others and knowing that you make a difference in the world. And so those are the three main goals that have been proven to really, they're called intrinsic goals versus extrinsic. Extrinsic goals, which are typically the goals that we're taught to go after in our culture, are going after making a lot of money. And, and there's nothing morally wrong with making a lot of money. It's just, if you think it's going to make you happy, you're going to be sadly, disappointed, because money can only do what money does, which is buy things and buy services and goods, and that's it. I mean, it can't give you a sense of meaning and purpose and connectedness. The other extrinsic goal that has been proven to not help us feel happy is going after status, like fame, let's say. I know watching Oprah for so many years that I've watched her, she would talk about how there's sort of like this celebrity culture, like everybody wants to be a celebrity. And really, it's an empty focus, because it's really about looking outside of yourself for a sense of value or approval. And so the point is to be a celebrity in your own heart and your own mind. And so let's go back to some of these questions, because again, I'm new at this particular format, so just bear with me. And actually, the next time I do this, I'm going to open it up to bring somebody on the live stream with me in video too. But I just wanted to do it in chat tonight. And so let's see. Okay. So Gwen says, Mary, it's definitely an inside job. Can you talk more about how once we work on the inside, we start to almost magically start attracting what we are truly focusing onto us? Let me take a little drink here. Hold on. Well, that's a great question or comment. And, it's all about the energy that we put out there. And, before I got into my own spiritual growth, I didn't know about energy or how the law of attraction works, and how when I align my energy with what I'm really passionate about or what's really truly in my heart, that actually that would attract things to me. And so absolutely, and actually I've been a law of attraction coach for many years and have seen it, I mean, so many times. There's been so many situations that have come up when you align your energy with what you truly value and what you truly love. People can feel it. People can feel when you're tapped in, tuned in, and turned on. People can feel when you love what you're focused on and what's important to you, and so they naturally respond to you. So you end up getting clients that you probably wouldn't if you weren't aligned with yourself. You're going to end up just attracting opportunities and things that actually, interestingly enough, for me, I've been doing this live stream show now for a few months, and I'm attracting some interesting opportunities that I had no idea were coming. And what's interesting for me is, I was trained or raised with the belief that you just had to work really hard and go after what you wanted and make it happen. And so it was more of a male kind of energy. And, what this path requires us to do is to fall in love with not knowing. And it's really uncomfortable at first. Like for me personally, after I left the last business that I was in, I had no idea. I mean, I knew I wanted to get into transformation, but I really didn't know that I was going to launch a live stream show. I really had no idea specifically what it was going to be. I like to say I knew that the melody of the song I was going to play was transformation, but I didn't know what instrument I was going to play it on. And I was really struggling with clarifying that. And so typically life coaches work with individual clients, or they'll do groups, or they'll do seminars or speaking or books. So anyway, just to back up a little bit, what happened was I leaped out of that business and left secure income because I knew that it was the right thing for me to do. I had just ended a relationship, and I knew that I needed to do my own thing. And I was in a relationship with my business partner on a romantic level too. So it was just time for me to do my own thing. And so leaping into that without knowing was really uncomfortable for me, especially since I'm in my 50s. And, there's all kinds of messages in our culture that, like, just, and, I hate to admit that part of me buys into that, I guess, because it's like, part of me is like, what are you doing? You're, only 10 years or less away from collecting Social Security. Are you kidding? Are you going to let go of this secure income? And yet my heart just would not let me not do it. And so I'm just really grateful I did. So after several months of really getting clarity and just kind of decompressing from the old business I was in and just really getting quiet and going in with myself, I got some clarity that I love being in the conversation of transformation. And so why not start a live stream talk show? And so and it was like, I'll give you a little bit of a hint. I was doing a lot of transformational work with Kyle Cease, who's a transformational comedian, and he does great work. And he has this saying of, he actually found this saying on the movie adaptation, and it's called, the quote is, "You are what you love and not what loves you." And what it means is, like when we're little kids and we're playing and having a great time and just blissed out, it's like we're not focused on what people are loving us. We're just focusing on what we love. And so the whole essence of my journey for the past year and a half or 2 years has been really just being true to myself and going after what I love and not being focused at all on what loves me. In other words, what kind of money I can make, because, that's typically what people do when they start a business. They're like, okay, so what's the market like? And that's the way I used to be. I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years, so my normal approach would be, how viable is this and how am I going to monetize it? And I completely approach this in a very, very different way. And it's taken a lot of trust, and it's a whole different way of being for me. And so it's been really good for me because it's really required me to stretch outside my comfort zone. So hopefully that answers your question, Gwen. Let's see, who else is here? Oh, I see Marnie's here. Hi, Marnie. It's good to see you. Actually, Marnie Spencer-Devlin was on the show, a few months ago. She wrote a book called Crawling into the Light, I think it is, and also the Iceberg Principles. And she's an amazing coach and author and artist. So Marnie's question is, I think the only real way to happiness is to be completely authentic. We are each our own person. Self-determination is part of that. When you take this away, we can no longer be who we are. Absolutely. And that's the beauty of, and thank you for that, Marnie. If you've ever been to my website, it's all about being true to yourself. And, we're raised in a culture that tells us that we need to put other people's needs first, especially as women. And for me, I got a lot of shame for putting my needs first. And so it really shut me down. And it gave me the message that being authentic, being true to myself was a bad thing. It was something that I should not do. It was an evil thing that I should confess in confession because I was raised Catholic and that's what you did. But as I've gone on my personal growth path, I started in '87, I realized that I needed to be true to myself. And so it really required that I take a whole different shift, and that actually being true to myself, which is, the essence of autonomy, is the best and most effective way I can be there for others. And, of course, I love the saying on the airplanes, put the oxygen mask on yourself first, because if you don't do that, you're not going to be alive to help your kids or anyone else. And it really applies to every area of our lives. And so being true to yourself is so key. And what I realized, by the way, is that after so many years of focusing on being the helper and helping everybody else, and that's where I got the love and the approval, I really didn't even know who I was because I never gave myself the opportunity to put the focus on myself because it would trigger shame for me. So in the past, 10, 15 years has been a journey of, who am I, what do I love, and how can I be true to that in every area of my life. And as I was sharing on one of the blogs I wrote recently, I'm 100% authentic. I mean, in everything I'm doing, with my work, with my friendships, with my relationships, and with myself. So if you're out there and you're struggling with being authentic, it may feel like a huge mountain to climb. And so what I would say to you is that you start with baby steps. That's what I did. It's a huge stretch to go out and, just speak the truth to everybody in your life because there's going to be some fallout. I mean, the truth is that the relationships that we've set up in our lives are reflecting our level of consciousness. And so when we shift that, people are either going to grow with us or they're going to go. And so the first step for me, and that I highly recommend, is to get a support system underneath you. There's free groups out there. There's 12-step groups like Codependence Anonymous, or Al-Anon's a really good group for just having healthy people just, be there for you and support you and being true to yourself. There's coming to this show every week and, just being around me and other speakers or this conversation salon. So the key is you want to have a really solid foundation of friendships, of people that really support you and being true to you and that are not into trying to manipulate you into doing what they need to do so that, they can feel better about themselves. Let's see. Another question or comment is, let's see. Well, Marnie says, well, hi, Mary. Hi, Marnie. All of us smell authenticity a mile away, just like we smell BS. It's all about authenticity. Exactly. I mean, I like to say there's many closets that we all have, even though I'm a lesbian and I came out of that closet many years ago. It wasn't the only closet for me. There's the spiritual closet, there's the recovery closet, there's all kinds of closets. And until we can really, what I found for me is I needed to do a lot of internal work on, well, starting with self-compassion. I didn't realize how hard I was on myself, and we're socialized to fit in and to feel like we're approved of, instead of really learning how to approve and love ourselves. And so self-compassion was a huge piece for me, and the door that opened for me in that arena was with Brené Brown. Gosh, her stuff has been transformational for me. She introduced me to really embracing vulnerability. And I mean, literally like 3 years ago maybe, I wasn't even on Facebook at all. I didn't even have an account. I was so fearful of anybody saying negative things about me or just challenging my opinions or anything, that it was just too uncomfortable. And so I did a lot of personal work around that. And here I am doing this live stream show now. So it really goes to show you, and I didn't just jump from doing no Facebook to doing a live stream show. I started by just liking different things on Facebook. I mean, that was it. And then maybe making a little comment. And then maybe I challenged myself, and I was working with a coach too, to speak my opinion when I knew it might not be something that people agreed with me about. So it's been a process. And then, telling the really hard truth in some of the relationships I was in. And even though that was really painful or uncomfortable, it really kind of shook everything out so that now everything in my life is really authentic. So, okay, let's see. What else do we have? Let's see. So Marnie says she did a workshop yesterday to all men. Good men, hold on just a second. who love their families, the concept of being selfish sounded like a bad word to them. They had never focused on their own needs, always family first. Oh my God, that's exactly, what I was sharing about. You know, like just to give you a feel for it. Well, I think the whole thing started, at least in my family, it started with religion. Being raised Catholic, there's this whole Catholic thing about charity and altruism and self-sacrifice, and it's not to say there's anything wrong with those things. They're not. You can be true to yourself and also be very generous with charities and with being altruistic. What happened in my culture or my family was that it took it to a level to where you should not be there for yourself, so that you should, in other words, it almost like it promoted suffering in a sense. And I mean, if you really think about it, all your like major heroes in your life, think about if they had never been true to themselves. Like Oprah, for example, she's like a maiden hero for me. So let's say she's like, oh, I need to be there for my sister or my mother or my whoever, and like not follow my heart. I mean, can you imagine all the people that she wouldn't have touched? Or Martin Luther King or Gandhi, or Jesus, or any of the main teachers that have really walked this earth. And so, even in the 12-step programs, it says right on the chips that you get, to thy own self be true. And so I think the main thing that we need to get clear on is that giving ourselves permission to be true to ourselves is really, really key, and getting a support system around you that also values being true to themselves is really key, because you're going to get pushback from the people that are used to you giving yourself up to them. And that's what happened to me, and I was in it, and I knew that, and so I put that support system in place in advance, because I knew I was going to lose some relationships. And even though it was hard, now, like I said, the relationships I'm in are totally authentic, So let's see. Got another comment or question here. Let's see. I don't know who guest 406 is, but thank you for being there. By the way, when you log into the chat room, by the way, for any of you that are on Facebook right now, if you want to participate in this conversation, please go up to the Mary Giuliani Watch Live on my website, because that's where the live stream is there as well, and the chat box where I'm fielding questions is right below the live stream. And you just need to log into the chat box. You can just click on Facebook and it'll log you right in. But if you log in through Facebook, it'll put your name, but if you log in as a guest, it'll just say guest. So if you want to reveal who you are, be vulnerable, then you can. If not, that's cool too. Okay, so guest 406 says, I needed an attitude adjustment and just took a costuming job. Used to be my hobby and I loved it. Going to use the 3-day gig to get myself back. Excited and back on my goals. I will be in an environment where everyone loves me. Going to allow this working vacation to relight my fire. Awesome. Well, thank you for that, for that input. And this is actually one of the pieces that I wanted to talk about tonight, is doing things that we love just for the fun of it. And when we get into that place of doing what we love just for the fun of it, all kinds of energy opens up for us. And, I think that there's been this sort of meme or like idea that work has to be suffering, and it doesn't. I mean, I'm having a great time, and this is what I love doing. And, and I've shared this with some people before, but one of the things that Oprah said that really inspired me was when people asked her what it was like interviewing people and running a talk show. She's like, what I do, it's like breathing, And that was one of the main inspirations for me to start this show. It's like, I'm doing this all the time, whether it's on this show or with my friends, or that's just who I am. So it's like, I think the one of the key pieces to ask yourself when you're trying to get clear about what you really want is, to write down all of the things that you really love doing. And even if you can't think of how they could be a career or a service or a vocation, but just writing them all down. And one of the processes I did was writing down all these things and then looking at each one of them and letting the energy in your body register in terms of the level of excitement that you feel when you look at them. So that was when one of the things I was considering doing was this transformational board game online. I mean, it sounds kind of funky, but I have these really fun transformational board games that I play with my friends. And I thought it would be fun to do it online. And I still might do it. But what I realized is I like this even better. So the point is that was one of the things I wrote down on my list was I love doing transformational board games with friends. I love talking about transformation. I love watching movies or seminars or going, all of this stuff. So anyway, let's see. Yes, Marnie, I know about Oprah. Marnie's saying if Oprah hadn't been selfish, millions would have lost out. And what's so interesting about Oprah is, there's been hundreds, if not thousands, of people that have not committed suicide just by watching her show. And that's how important being true to yourself is. It can be life or death for people, and just us showing up and being authentic gives other people permission to do the same thing. And that's why I'm here. I got the idea to do this show, and then I did the research, and did a lot of training on how to do the show, and here I am, and so yay. Guest 406 is Graciela. Awesome. Well, great, Graciela. So Graciela, you're doing the costuming job. Okay. Yes. I love that. So, let's see some of the other ideas or questions or comments. Okay. Oh, there's Graciela again then. We have instruments we master. What happens when we need a change or a reboot direction? Getting up and remotivated. Okay. Let's see if I can find that again. Well, what happened for me is I could tell about a year and a half ago. Well, this was after I left my relationship in the business I was in with my partner. And I knew that I wanted to do something around transformation, but I felt really blocked from a creativity standpoint. And so I was like, I need support in opening up to my creativity. And I wasn't sure how to do it. So I went on Google and started looking around and actually found Kyle Cease. And as I said, he's a former stand-up top comedian that is now a transformational speaker, motivator. He does these two-day events called Evolving Out Loud. And when I went to his website, his whole message is about helping you tap into your creativity and really follow your heart, fall in love with not knowing, and really taking a look at the stories that are getting in the way of why you're not following your highest calling. And what was interesting about that from a kind of law of attraction standpoint is I've been online dating for the past year or so, and I met this woman, and she actually had told me about Kyle. I was asking her, oh, what kind of teachers are you into? And she's like, oh, this guy, Kyle Cease. And I looked him up, and then I found him again, when I was looking for somebody to help me with my creativity. And then, again, he came in because through a women's group that I'm involved in, a woman there was going to one of his events and had a free ticket. And she called me and said, hey, I've got this free ticket to this Kyle Cease event. Do you want to go? And I'm like, okay, universe, I get it. So I went, and that was a year and a half ago. And his work, his Evolving Out Loud seminar, and then also I did a flow group, which was like a really small group, like 4 people with him and his team over a weekend. And out of all of that work, was the impetus for me to launch this show. I would have never done it without that level of support and watching other people. And that's another key piece, is that when you go to his events, there's 1,500 people there, and many of the people there are taking leaps that are basically really stepping outside of their comfort zone. So when you're exposed to other people that are doing it, it's not as scary because you see that other people are doing it, and it's not a huge deal. And he makes it for example, he just wrote a book called I Hope I Screw This Up. So he makes falling down totally fun, and it's no big deal, and it's part of the process. And so it really helped being supported by him and his team and that whole Evolving Out Loud community. Let's see, what else? Oh my God, it's 7:43. Things are going by really fast. Changing direction, just get clear about what you feel like you're needing, as far as, are you feeling blocked around creativity? Are you what the issue is that's stopping you from moving forward? And I love Google. I got to admit, to me, Google in some ways is sort of like the mind of God. I mean, there's so much out there that people, we're all very much the same and have had very similar issues. So chances are there's many, many people that have had the same blocks that you've had, and you can find them and see what they're doing. And you can come to this show every week and ask. Okay. Oh, Carrie Palmer. Carrie, my BFF up in Washington. Let me get a little drink of soda here. Hold on. Okay, my sister Lexi had a big dream about starting her own business. She worked hard, and in a few years she made it happen. Then it was as if once she got what she wanted, she was still empty. Any idea why? Yes. Okay, so this is the I'll be happy when scenario that so many of us fall into. And my philosophy about this is that if you can't source joy right now, it's not going to be much different when you get the business off the ground, or when you get the relationship, or when there's a misunderstanding of where joy and happiness and fullness and fulfillment come from. And so to me, if you're going after the proverbial once I get this, then I'll be happy track, it's an opportunity to really go within and check in with yourself about where you can find fulfillment now. Another thing that really has helped me is, the Brene Brown work was key, because I didn't realize I had so much shame and so much judgment and guilt and stuff that I hadn't worked through. And it was like running under the surface, sort of like a computer program, like when you have all these tabs running under the surface and they slow down your system and clog things up and sometimes even crash your computer. That's what happens when we have unresolved issues, especially shame and guilt. And actually, I'm glad that this thought just popped in. One of the things that I got clear about was one of the reasons I was really super focused on being successful for many years, up until about 5 years ago, was because on a deeper level, because I've shared on the show before, I've been in recovery and with drugs and alcohol and food, and I got in touch with having addiction issues made me feel like I was weak and a loser. And so the way I compensated for that was to make sure that nobody ever perceived me that way. So as long as I could be super strong, like a really powerful entrepreneur winner, then I would never have to experience the pain of feeling like a weak loser. So if, Carrie, if your sister has some issues around feeling like, getting in touch with what has motivated her to start that business, and a lot of time it's based on wounds that are not healed. So like for me now, I don't have to be a powerful, successful entrepreneur. It's not, I mean, if that happens, great, but that's my whole gig is just about being true to myself and having fun in the moment. So, yeah. Let's see. What else is there? Okay. Wanted to get back to Gwen. How can you trust that it's truly your higher self and your inner guidance versus just some convincing monkey mind material? Okay. So for me, I use a lot of different tools. I use journaling. Journaling is like, so I use journaling, I use coaching, I work with coaches and therapists. But journaling, I just want to get into that. It's like having a dialogue with myself from a heart-centered space, and really just writing out what comes to mind and where my heart is at, and really getting in touch with, well, is this what I really want? Like, can I see that this is like what kind of internal need is this going to fulfill? And is this like a wound-based focus, or is this really a heart-based focus? And you can actually, and then meditation as well has been really, really helpful. And I don't even know if I like to call it meditation, because I really struggled with meditation for many years until the past maybe 3 years. It's more like a mindfulness practice where I just sit for 30 minutes every day and I close my eyes and I put my phone on airplane mode so I don't get any interruptions. And I just let the thoughts and stuff go by. I don't try to get rid of them. And eventually they calm down. And even during that process, there's another process that Kyle taught me. It's about going into your heart and talking to your heart and actually asking your heart how it feels about whatever these ideas might be. And you'll be amazed just by asking, putting your hand on your heart and just asking, how are you feeling about that, sweetie? How is that landing for you? Is that gonna be okay for us to pursue this? And another really key piece is tapping into how you feel in your body when you contemplate it. Our bodies will tell us if something is really aligned with our true calling. And how you can tell is the level of excitement that you have, the level of passion that you have. If it feels light and exciting, then you've got some alignment. If it feels heavy and, daunting, then there's something there. And I want to say that you can, even though like with this show, it felt exciting, and yet, yeah, there was a lot of fear. It scared the crap out of me, frankly. But at the same time, I knew that was just because, an old part of me was dying, and that, the part of me that was still attached to good opinion of others and that sort of thing. But the idea of actually being in the conversation of transformation was like totally like light and exciting. So trust what your body tells you when you look at a goal or an idea that you have, and just tap into your body. And that's another really key piece with meditation, is it helps you stop, look, and listen, and really get a feel for what's going on with your body. So, okay, what else? Oh, there's Carrie. Carrie from Washington. I feel like I want to write a book, but I have my job that always gets in my way. What do you recommend I do? My job feels so empty. Okay. So I really feel like I want to write a book, but I have my job. Now I know a lot about Carrie because she's my BFF up in Washington. So the truth is, okay, Carrie, you can leap. I know you can leap. And you are one of the, out of all my friends, the most powerful woman in my inner circle. And I already know that you're just going to take off like a rocket. And so I say leap. I mean, that's my opinion. Of course, you need to get in touch with what that's about for you, and and what that would look like. But like when I had the situation with my ex-partner in the business, it was like, okay, you know, do I want to stay here and work with my ex-partner in this business, or and it was really more focusing on her vision versus what I wanted to do for me and my calling. It wasn't my calling. And so what I'm hearing, Carrie, is that even though you've had a great run with the radio, you know, you're an amazing DJ, you know, it's not your calling anymore. So, and I would just take a look at what might be in the way of you leaping. And as Kyle always says too, we can always measure what we're going to lose by leaping, but we can't measure what we're going to gain. And I can just tell you, there's going to be a million times more things you're going to gain. So, yeah. Let's see. I think, is there any more questions? I want to make sure. This is the first time I've done this show in this format, so it's like, okay, I don't have like a way to check off different questions or comments. Let's see. Oh, here it is. Sheila says, I hear all the time that if you want to be a success, you have to jump and take chances. I can't just jump. I have bills to pay. What do you think about that? Great question, Sheila. Baby steps. You know, I don't recommend, you know, I had some savings, so I didn't just jump into a situation where I had no income. I know people have done that. Well, actually, I've done that before. When I was in my 30s, I started my first business with no savings, and I was 32. So, and I was really, really focused. I mean, my mantra back then was failure is not an option. I don't come from that place anymore, but for you, Sheila, what I would say is you have to take baby steps. First of all, getting clear about what it is that you want to create. And for me, what I started doing when I was younger is I started looking for gigs that were aligned with what I wanted to be doing, so that it would at least line me up with the people that I wanted to be working with, the energies that I wanted to be working with. And also looking at what may be in the way of, well, and the other thing I did is I minimized my expenses and maximized my savings. So I made a very conscious decision to move into a space that the rent was a lot less, and I let go of a lot of expenses, and so I was able to save a lot of money. And let's say, if you might say, well, I don't have the kind of job I can save money, then I would say it's an opportunity for you to get the skills that you need to make more money. You know, one of the things Terry Cole Whitaker used to say, and it used to crack me up, when people would say, but I'm on a fixed income. And she'd say, well, who fixed it? You know, I mean, it's true. It's like we're smart people. We just need training, and that's what I did. I got trained to be a coach, and I worked at a business networking organization before I started my own, so I got training at another business. So put yourself in an environment with people that are doing what you want to be doing. I actually cold called therapists to see if they needed help, believe it or not, because I used to be an insurance biller for like 11 years. I was sitting behind my little IBM Selectric typewriter hating my life, and once I got into transformational work and recovery and law of attraction, it was like, Mary, the reason you're at this job is because you keep walking through the door every day, so what are you going to do different, you know? And so I went into that, I thought, well, you know what, I bet you I'd be really good at sales because I'm a people person, and so I asked them if I could transfer into sales, and they said no. And so then I decided to find a job that I could do sales, and I ended up getting a job at a women's business networking organization. And that was the stepping stone that gave me the training, and it put me in an environment with all these powerful women entrepreneurs. And so that gave me the training and the motivation and the inspiration to start my own gay and lesbian and gay-friendly business network. So put yourself in an environment that can support you. That's what I would say. Let's see. think I've got everything else handled. La da 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 da, la la la. I think I'm pretty much covered all the comments and questions, and I want to thank everybody for being here today. This has been such a fun thing, and I just really appreciate all my friends for showing up, and people that are new, thank you for being here. I do want to mention, let's see, that if you're new, get on my mailing list so you know who's coming up next. Also, if you would like to get my shows on iTunes, just go to iTunes and type in Mary Giuliani Live, and you'll get them automatically downloaded right into your iPhone. And let's see, I think that is just about it. Unless anybody, I think that's pretty much it for tonight. And this is my very first Conscious Conversation Salons. And like I said, next time, by the way, this is going to be the first Wednesday of the month. So the very first Wednesday of June, I will have this format as well. And then the following 3 weeks will be the regular interview show. So next week we've got Deborah Shames, who's an amazing speaking coach who is from the entertainment industry, who is a producer and a director. And so she is going to be really fun to talk to, because she not only teaches you how to be a speaker, but she really pulls out those aspects like directors do when you're like an actor. And I'm actually taking one of her classes in about a week too, and so I'm really excited about that, because I'm getting ready to get out there and be a speaker. That's another big stretch for me. So let's see. The last thing I just want to say for everybody, like I say every single week, which is think of one thing that you can do to be true to yourself, and put it on your calendar so you make sure you do it, and you will be amazed what happens to your life. We'll see you next week, everyone. Thank you for being here.